We can only grow up from here. Today, 50% of the population lives in a city. This means it takes half of South America to feed the city population alone. In the next 50 years, the world population is expected to increase by another 3 billion people. In order to accommodate the population increase, 20% more land will be needed to grow food in order to sustain them. A solution is needed for cities to sustain their own food production in crowded urban landscapes without taking up so much physical land outside of their community. For example, New York City uses the landmass equivalent to Virginia to sustain their city's food. Vertical farming is a solution for cities to use their vertical skyline to help reduce the amount of farmland used to grow and raise food. Vertical farming has the potential to reduce the amount of water consumed. It will supply enough food in a sustainable fashion to feed not only the city population, but all of humans for the foreseeable future. Vertical farming will allow a large amount of land to return to its natural landscape. It will restore ecosystem functions and services. Do you think this sounds too good to be true? Water is the most essential part of all life. Vertical farming seems to be the answer for a serious problem that many nations now face due to drought and lack of drinking water. Currently, traditional farming uses 75% of total water being consumed by humans. I believe the best solution to this climbing environmental disaster is to eliminate the high percentage of agricultural water consumption. There are two solutions that have been created by NASA that the vertical farming movement used: hydroponic growing and aeroponic growing. These growing methods have been successful because they use less water and increase the speed and growth in plants. Hydroponic growing is a way to grow plants using only water and light. Aeroponic growing is a way to use only air and light. Current hydroponic growing uses 70% less water than traditional farming. Aeroponic growing uses 70% less water than hydroponic growing. The answer is simple. Another solution for the growing water crisis that traditional farming has created is to recycle cities' black water. Black water is the excess water from the streets and the sewers. The idea would be to compost and recycle this water and use it for farming inside the buildings. Vertical growing will instill year-round crop production in a protected, managed environment. The innovative style would multiply the productivity of the farm surfaces 6 times depending on the crop. Vertical farming will eliminate the travel time between farm to facility. This will result in less waste and spoilage of the crops. It is suggested that if crops like wheat were grown to dwarf stature and stacked in vertical gardens, you can produce 5 acres more than if grown traditionally. NASA has already proven this theory with the dwarf wheat and have determined its small stature are richer in nutrients and easier to grow. In 2011, a true vertical farm was created in Japan. They brought this innovative farming after the tidal wave took out a portion of their land. This natural disaster made the people of Japan realize the importance of safe agriculture. This facility was able to recycle 98% of the water and will be able to produce 50% more crops a year than traditional farming. They used vertical farming to bring food to a region without taking up the land that they didn't have. Agricultural ecosystems provide important habitats for wild plants and animals. The rising demand for food and other agricultural products has seen large-scale clearing of natural habitats in rainforests around the world. The most recent example is Indonesia's palm oil trade and the Brazilian rainforest. How do we fix this problem? The answer is simple. Abandon the encroached land and let the ecosystems rebuild themselves. This theory has already been proven through ancient civilizations that have damaged the land, like the Mayans and the Incas. Now, there are less jungles that have grew up around the abandoned civilization. Vertical farming would help our current global warming crisis. If vertical farming was used instead of traditional farming, we could restore 45% of damaged land back to its original habitat. In 2015, a United Nations official held a press conference on global warming and how the rapidly deteriorating land has played a huge role in it. And I quote, "Unless we have enough land that can withstand soil erosion, we will not have enough arable land for our children and their children." There are many people who oppose the idea of vertical farming. Some people say that the stackable design does not make sense because the only plants that would grow would be the ones at the top. Other argues that the light needed to grow the amount of plants in the skyscraper would be astronomical. Currently, the LED lights used for indoor growing is not enough to support the idea of vertical farming. It is suggested if you mix a percentage of carbon dioxide with the current LED lights, it can produce 65% sunlight. This technology of substituting carbon dioxide instead of a full sunlight is as recent as 2012. If there is a focus on creating 100% sunlight, then we could create new innovative technologies to solve this issue. If we fail to meet our current obligation in this area, we'll be sacrificing our present and future well-being. The time to make a change is now. We need to reduce our population's carbon footprint in order to reverse the devastating global warming that is happening around us. Vertical farming will not only free up continental-sized land, but bring it back to its natural habitat and reduce water consumption. It will also make each community responsible to feed itself. Vertical farming causes a lot of conversation, but we need to switch it from problems to solutions.